Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 27 of FTB Interactions. Today we are actually going to do ore processing. But before we can actually process ores here in the space station dimension, we have to probably connect our ME system to here. Well, that's not strictly necessary because we can use like ender chests and stuff to move stuff around and ender tanks to move fluids around. It'll be so much easier. It also means I don't have to use my infinity energy to open my console here, my terminal. So, to do that, let's start by heading back to the overworld and make the quantum system. I've already crafted most of these components, a quantum link chamber, or 2 quantum link chambers, and 16 quantum rings. These are what define like the multi-block that's used to make an interdimensional link on the ME system. All we need now is to make a pair of quantum entangled singularities. So it says, to create, drop 1 singularity and 1 ender dust, and cause an explosion within range. Alright. We received a singularity from a quest reward, thankfully, from our mass assembler quest reward. We can't quite make them yet because I have neither an implosion chamber, nor TNT, nor nearly enough infinity dust. So that's a good thing. So there's a singularity, and then we need ender dust. I assume ender pearl dust will suffice. And something to cause an explosion. Is tiny TNT enabled? No, it is not. And I don't actually. Oh, I have 1 piece of TNT. Oh, we have fake TNT. Let's use this first. See if it works. So this caused an explosion, so let's go somewhere where we don't mind an explosion being caused. There's a troll in my boat. That's pretty funny. Alright, if that wait, you right-click it. You don't throw it, do you? If this blows up my singularity without actually making something, I will be much sad. But no, it seems to have worked as intended. We have 2 quantum entangled singularities now. Basically, these two have the same random MBT data, which means that they are forever linked together. Then we just have to build our quantum ring. It has to be a 3x3, I guess that's a square, with the link chamber in the middle. Voila! And then you put 1 of your quantum entangled singularities in each and connect it to your system. It's up to you if you want to put it on the P2P side of your network or the actual channel side. I personally prefer to transfer P2P channels because it means you can have access to more channels on the other side. But it's not wrong, I'd suppose, to do either. Anyways, we want to do the same thing in the space dimension now. Before we go to space though, we'll want to link our memory card to one of these unused P2P tunnels, and then that's the one we'll link to once we build this. Alright, here we are. Where do I want to put this? Sure, let's build it back here. Once built, you once again place the corresponding singularity in this quantum link chamber, and the two are linked. However, it doesn't magically transmit power. You still need to power this side of the chamber. I usually do that just through an energy acceptor and some type of wireless energy transport. And I should have a few Spectrocoils left. So, voila. This should soon play a little animation to let you know it's working. Maybe. Maybe not. Well, I trust that it's working. We'll find out if it doesn't work pretty soon. Then you just have to set up your usual P2P connection. So link this tunnel to the other one. And because energy is transferred through the P2P tunnel, you don't need energy on the actual network side of things anymore. So let's put a dense cable here just so we can see how many channels we've used. And the access point. Yeah, 43 meters probably covers this entire platform, even though it's not very well centered. But it does say device offline. It's an energy acceptor, not like a Spectrocoil on it? I think the thing is that my P2P subnet doesn't have enough internal buffer to power a quantum ring. A quantum ring draws a lot of energy. So let's try putting a energy cell energy cell. Let's put a dense energy cell on each side of it. Normally this isn't required, but I think when we're with the high energy multiplier in this pack, this becomes required. All right, so every now and then you see little whiffs of things there. I think that's a network trying to start up but still not having enough energy based on the fact that this isn't charging. I guess I'll just siphon energy off our CEU here then. On second thought, I wanted a system that's capable of starting itself up in like a cold start, because right now our diesel engine doesn't have fuel because there's no network providing it fuel, and that could happen if the network goes down for whatever reason. So I didn't want to rely on the energy output of the CEU, which also is currently 0, to start this up, which means I just made a Redstone Spectrocoil. This provides 4,000 RF a tick, and that is apparently enough to start this up. In fact, let's see. How much does this take? So this is a total statistics of our P2P subnet, because now this half is linked to the other half, right? There's clearly not 224 cables on this half of the network. Anyways, yeah, it takes 4,500 RF a tick, and probably most of that is the quantum stuff. This is just short of 400 when you add the two up, and there's a 10x multiplier. So apparently it costs about 4,000 RF a tick for each quantum connection you do. It's actually pretty pricey, but just keep that in mind. Anyways, now though, our wireless access point here works, and when we check this is the total power drain of our entire entire network, except the P2P part. If we look here, there are 3 access points here. 1 is in this dimension, and 2 are in the overworld. So anyways, this means we can just use our wireless crafted terminal now without dipping into infinity energy. And it means we can, for example, set up fluid export buses to stock these drums. And just like that, we're generating power again. Aha! Which means our miner is once again running at high speed. I actually think the miner is running at full speed right now, because some of our power inputs, or all of our power inputs, are full. Which means that this is as fast as a single orbital miner can run. And that is, what, a set of 5 items every, like, 4 to 5 times a second? It's not half bad. Of course, most of it's cobblestone, and that just gets trashed, but every now and then, I mean, we get a lot of non-trash out of this as well. And you know what? It's occurred to me that the cobblestone isn't like 100% useless. Maybe at some point, when we, say, set up our cobbleworks, we can just use cobblestone from here instead of having to make a cobblestone generator of some sort. So I figured I'll store a cache full of it. When and if the cache fills up, the rest will just go into the trash can, as before. Now on to the actual processing. Let's start simple with these crystals, or crystal blocks. The way you process them is you pulverize them. That gives a shard and a chance at a byproduct. And I think one of these gives a different or they all give different byproducts. But one of them gives tiny piles and the rest gives small piles. I think it's purple that gives tiny piles. Nope, that's yttrium. Alright, we're going to go through them one by one and figure out which one gives tiny piles. There we go. Orange gives tiny piles of indium, which is also one of the most useful byproducts, but I think everything else gives small piles. So we just have to keep that in mind. And then what we want to do is, because there's no reason to keep them in shard form, we have to craft all the shards into an actual crystal. Likewise, for the small piles, we'll craft them into actual piles, and we'll craft the tiny piles into actual piles as well. Because these crystals are relatively rare, like we only get a set of 5 crystals maybe every 10-ish seconds, I think one macerator can meet that demand. Apparently they're called pulverizers. I guess only the EV one is called a pulverizer. Everyone else is called a macerator? Nope. So EV is called pulverizer. Wait, hold on. Up to HV is called macerator. EV is called pulverizer. What's it called above that then? Of course. They become blendomatics above at IV and higher, because that makes it super easy to search for them in JEI. Thanks, Shadow of Greg. There are 6 different crystal types, and each one produces 2 outputs, so we need 12 different crafting recipes to compress them. Unfortunately, these shards cannot be compressed in the GregTech compressor, which incidentally can do the packages, what I'm talking, or the packer rather, which can do dusts. So I needed at least one crafter to handle these 6 recipes, at which point it's just as easy to set up a second crafter as it is to do 2 packers. Because they are tiny and small dusts, you need 2 different packers to handle them. Anyways, I just ended up doing 2 crafters. Each one holds, I think it's up to 8 recipes. I'm only using 6 of them. My plan is to store the final product in its own subnet storage system. So I have a very tiny subnet here that is an ME interface to ingest items, an ME drive whose drive bays are currently being crafted to store the items, and a terminal to view what's inside. That's connected to our main network via a storage bus, and it's powered through the quartz fiber there. This is set to extract only, so that our system won't try to put extra items in here. This will be a very specialized subnet that only stores these items, as well as probably I'll end up storing the dust outputs from processing these ores in there. That way, not many of the bytes on the drives will be used up on types, and it will all be available to store a lot of items. Each 64K drive holds, let's see. So assuming you only have a single type, which is not quite 100% true, but it's pretty close, it holds 65,000 times 8 of any single item. It takes 8 items to use up 1 byte. So that's, I'm not even going to try to do that math here. It's somewhere in the 500,000 range. That's a lot of items. While those cells craft, let's brainstorm how to process these ores. The real decision, I think, what it comes down to is whether, well, here, let's ignore diamond. That's actually an outlier. For most of these ores, though, step 1 is to cook it. So we will need probably a multi-smelter for that. And do we try to make superconducting coils, or do we just accept something a lower tier, like, I don't know, tungsten steel? Whatever. I think tungsten steel is level 8 versus superconductors level 16. It's probably fine just to use tungsten steel coils. So step 1 is to cook it. Step 2 is to pulverize it. All right, no decision to be made there yet. But it's a matter of, is it worth washing these ores or not? Washing ores will change the secondary product you get in the second pulverizing step. For example, for tin, you change it from iron to zinc. So that is worth. But then there are some cases where I don't think it is. And ore washers are by far the slowest part of this process. So, like, say iron ore, for example, if you wash it, let's see, ore byproducts list. Yeah, if you don't wash it, you get nickel. If you do wash it, you get tin. So I think maybe what I'll do is I'll selectively wash. Like, I'll wash tin ores because zinc is far more useful than iron is. But in the case of iron, I won't wash it because nickel is more useful than tin. Anyways, washed or not, after that, the next step is to crush it again. And that, depending on whether you wash it or not, you will get a pure or an impure pile of dust, which can be centrifuged for a little bit more byproduct. The centrifuging step is extremely fast, so you may as well do it. And then you're left with the dust. My plan is to just store the dust in dust form and have another multi-smelter handle on-demand smelting recipes. Because smelting from dust to ingots is exceptionally fast, and going the other way around is much slower, right? You have to put it through a pulverizer. I think it's better to store them in dust form. Also, dusts are a bit more versatile. You can do all these like crafting recipes, most of mixer recipes and crafting recipes to make alloys, except dusts. Whereas the alloy smelter recipes will accept dusts or ingots. So to that end, in fact, let me pull up the alloy smelter. Like these alloy smelter recipes, any that accept the dust will happily accept an ingot or any that take an ingot will happily accept the dust as well, or at least a majority of them. So to that end, because dusts are more versatile, I think I'll leave them in dust form until they need to be turned into ingots on demand. As I mentioned, diamond ore, however, is a bit of an exception. While you can process it through the exact same steps, You pulverize, optionally wash. I guess it doesn't matter if you wash. What do you get for washing? You get some graphite. And then pulverize again. Where's the pulverizer? And then centrifuge. There's a secondary way to process these gem dusts, and that is after the washing step, you can sifter them, which has a chance to give you all these higher tiers things in addition to just regular diamonds and diamond dust. And I think the sifter is well worth using because it is by far the easiest way to get these exquisite and flawless diamonds. And are there recipes that specifically call for these? Yeah, some of the very high tier stuff explicitly needs an exquisite diamond. While it is, this is actually literally the only way to get exquisite diamonds. I guess you can go up to flawless with a refiner, but you can't refine flawless into exquisite. So we have to process this in a sifter. Unfortunately, I thought this thing produced emerald ores as well, but it doesn't appear to. I think these exquisite emeralds we need in far greater quantity than exquisite diamonds, and we need them sooner because they're needed to make these engraved crystal chips. And the only way to make them is with exquisite diamonds. So I guess we need emerald ores, and this is for higher tier circuits. But, wetware circuits. But I guess because we don't get emerald ore off this system, we can't count on it as our exquisite emerald source. Oh well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Armed with the plan, let's start by building our smelter, the multi-smelter. So it's in shape very similar to a blast furnace. It has heat-proof blocks, input-output buses. The only differences are that it is only one block. Like it only has a one layer of coils, and it doesn't take fluid input output. So one layer of coils, and I'm a few short on heat-proof blocks, huh? But I think you get the gist here. It's basically a blast furnace that's a little shorter. The multi-smelter is built, and trust me when I say it's fast. Let me demonstrate. Let's start with let's start with iron. I'll grab as much iron as can fit in my inventory. Dump it all into this very large bus, and we can see it's done. It will, in just a couple, yep, it's done smelting all of it already. That was what, like 15 stacks of ore, 16? And it did it all in an equal number of seconds. I love the multi-smelter. And it gets more than twice as fast when you upgrade the coils. Honestly, for this one, we probably never have to upgrade the coils. But later, for just in general on-demand smelting, oh, I love the multi-smelter. It is so good. So I'm just extracting from these 6 caches that have ores and send them into here. Apparently this runs so fast that it blinks a little bit. Oh well, whatever. And out the other end, extremely quickly come the clusters. Alright, next is to pulverize all of these. We're going to need a lot of pulverizers. I'm starting to use a lot of EV machines at this point, and EV motors take up a lot of this annealed copper stuff. So annealed copper can be made in 2 ways. Let's call them the easy way and the hard way. The hard way is in a blast furnace from copper dust and oxygen, or copper ingots and oxygen. This takes a long time, 25 seconds at MV. The easy way is to use an arc furnace. I guess it takes, this is much faster. It takes much less oxygen and much less power. So I don't know why you would ever do it in a blast furnace. But the option is there for you to shoot yourself in the foot. But it's time for the arc furnace to join us. And of course, to make this even faster, I'm using a EV one. So let's just see how fast this little guy runs. I'm remarkably low on copper. I guess it doesn't run at all until I give it oxygen. Supplied with oxygen, let's see it in business. Ooh, that is fast. That's what, like 3 ticks per? Very good. Anyways, we'll do our usual thing of having it auto output to the interface it's on. And it's so fast that I don't mind just baking this copper on demand. So auto output. There we go. And then I just have to plug the interface in. Let's start off with 10 EV pulverizers. See if that's enough to handle the output from our mining laser. Remember, we don't have to necessarily blow through the backlog that we have immediately, because we have like probably a week's worth of production backlogged. Craft is still going. But we do want to be able to process ores about as fast as it mines them. At least I would like to. That would be the ideal case. I just love watching this thing go. We're also going to need a lot more power up here, aren't we? Because these are EV pulverizers, and the crafting recipe for this, how much energy does it take? Let's see. 12 EU a tick, which means when it's overclocked, this is 12 over 32. About 1 over 2.5. So each one takes about like 0.4 amps of energy. So if each one takes 0.4, yeah, we're going to need a lot more diesel engines. Let's build 2 more for now, and maybe we'll need more. We'll need even more down the line. 10 EV pulverizers. Let's turn them on. Let's see, extract brown always. These are insert brown, right? Insert brown, extract blue. Yep. So they should start turning on. There we go. Let's set you to round robin mode as well. And have you extracting 16 items at a time. Do they all turn on? Yeah, it looks like 16 items at a time is more than enough extraction. All right, so I'm having all these pulverizers run and dump their crushed ores into this modular storage. From here, we need some type of filter, and we need some type of logic to determine which ores we wash and which ores we don't. Oh, wait, not enough power. Oh, it's because I didn't actually hook up my extra... That would do it, huh? Indium cable. I set up the generators, I didn't actually plug them in. There we go. Now these should all be running. Aha, perfect. All right, so anyways, let's set this to the type that you can actually see what's in here. We need some type of logic to determine which ores we crush, or which ores we wash, which ores we don't. So of these 6 types, let me, I guess I'll just check each of them by hand and determine which ones we wash. Thankfully, there's only like 7 different ore types to deal with here, so these are the ones we don't wash, and diamond or tin are the ones we do wash. I guess because the ore washers are so incredibly slow, let's get them started up now. The fact that ore washer recipes are all 16 EU a tick recipes also means that they have the crappy overclocking behavior. For each tier of overclocking, the energy or the power consumption quadruples, and the time to process halves, which means for each tier you overclock, the total energy doubles. Whereas if it were 17 EU a tick, the time would actually divide by 2.8 instead of just 2. So it's somewhat unfortunate they're exactly 16s, but that's probably by design. That does leave a decision. Do we use a whole bunch of basic ore washers, or do we just use a handful of EV washers, accepting that it'll be way less energy efficient? I think let's go with the EV ones, just because I don't have the iron to make a bunch of LV machines right now. Of all resources, I have more titanium than iron. So yeah, let's go with a handful of EV ore washers. Ore washers also use a tremendous amount of water, so let's get for now 4 aqueous accumulators pumping water for it. If that's not enough, we can always expand this. But aqueous accumulators are pretty quick, so I expect it will be up to the task. Those aqueous accumulators appear to be producing more than sufficient water to power these ore washers. I think we're using less than half of their output before they refill, so that means we have room for growth. Anyways, these the ores come out of this massive chest, this modular storage. They're filtered on extract, so tin and diamond ores come into these ore washing plants, and then their products get filtered 3 ways. Stone dust just gets thrown away because I don't care for it. The purified ores go into this chest with a ore dictionary filter for crushed purified, and the tiny dusts go into this chest with a filter for dust tiny. Now, because there's 2 different types of, there'll be 2 different types of tiny dust in here, right? Graphite and iron, then I'll want to set up a packer or packager, I forget what it's called already, that will convert between, that will be able to compress these 9-to-1 into regular dusts. In other news, our 64K storage cells are done, so let's put them into our machine here, our drive here, which is unpowered. Really, can power not go through a quartz fiber into an ME interface? That's something I'm not allowed to do. Alright, let me fix that. Oh, the problem was I didn't have an energy cell on this mini subnet. Whatever, I'm powering it differently now. I'm directly siphoning energy off a CEU there. Anyways, now the items that are produced by our crystal crusher, which is this one pulverizer, are all going to show up in here. And right now, I ran out of neodymium, so I needed to snag a little bit of neodymium from here. So like before, in times when you have multiple types of tiny dusts and you want to package them, use a robotic arm set to supply exact 9. You can also set it to, I guess, any multiple of 9, so 27 might work better. That way it pulls exactly 27 items at a time into here. And then we just have to somehow get the final product back somewhere useful. Where do I want to store the dusts? I guess if I'm storing the dusts in this network, I want to run them over to this interface. Alright, I can do that. And with that, we are now automatically producing iron dust. Haha, iron woes be gone. Alright, now let's deal with the ores that we don't wash, and those we just have to directly send to more pulverizers. I guess we have the option of reusing these, although these pulverizers will probably be busy almost all the time. So I guess we need another bunch of pulverizers. And in fact, is this step faster or slower than the first pulverizing step? This is 8 EU a tick for 40 seconds. Oh no, that's a chemical bath. Oh, machine. 12 EU a tick for 10 seconds. I think that's the same amount of time as this step was, right? We are pulverizing the dense... Yeah, 12 EU a tick for 10 seconds. Okay. But since each of these turns one item into 2, we need almost twice as many pulverizers. So let's go with 15, because some get washed. Powering an additional 15 pulverizers is going to take even more diesel power. So I have another 3 diesel engines to set up here. The fact that they can share sides really reduces the titanium cost of these, which is pretty convenient. At some point, I also have to consider the fuel I'm consuming. I'm pretty sure I still have plenty of oil right now, but I should check that at some point because it'll be quite sad for me to suddenly run out of diesel fuel. Next up, the dusts, after being purified, or the ones that we choose not to purify, get sent to another set of pulverizers. In fact, I think I need to turn round robin on you. There are 15 pulverizers here servicing these dusts, and their final products get dumped into another modular storage. Now here we have to do some more ore dictionary filtering. So there was, I think, 3 types of dust we're looking for. There's dust impure, dust pure, and just straight up dust. We want to send straight up dusts back into our storage. We want to take impure and pure dusts and send them through a centrifuge. Now the centrifuges are very fast, so we probably only need maybe 4 or 5 of them to keep up with all of these pulverizers. For extracting the dusts that are plain old dusts, I don't have a good way of doing it, at least I don't know of a good way of doing it, besides just a big item filter that has each of them listed. That just means that, or the reason I have to do that is because I can't use a ore dictionary match on just dust star, because dust star also matches dust pure and dust impure. However, what I can do then for the other 2, pure and impure dusts, is have 2 more chests. One, let's see, where do I want to put these? I guess it doesn't really matter. One that has a filter for impure, and one that has a filter for pure. Unfortunately, I can't do dust star pure. After the star, you can't enter more stuff. It's not actually a regular expression. Alas. Which has me thinking, if these actually were regular expression filters, then I could specify, I could split these dusts out by making it, I don't know my regular expressions very well, but I'm sure I could tell the difference between dust zinc and dust pure / dust impure something with regular expressions. But I'm not going to go on about regular expressions because that will give me a headache. Great. Centrifuges are another machine that changes their name when you get above HV. What's a centrifuge? What else is a name for a centrifuge? I'll take bets on how ridiculous it is. Oh, of course, it's a molecular separator. I mean, obviously. Who wouldn't have guessed that? Jeez, Jimmy, you big idiot. So I thought centrifuges were very fast, but here it is processing tin dust very slowly. And the reason that's happening is because for some reason, tin dust is a 5 EU a tick recipe. The lower EU a tick recipe actually processes much, much slower than the higher one. Again, because of the magic 16 number that you have to beat to get the good overclocking behavior. So while this is a lower tier recipe, it takes like 4 times as long as the iron one to process. As a result, we might need a little bit more than 4 of these. In fact, let's just go ahead and craft another 4, just for good measure. They're not that bad. Go. Now, coming out of these, the regular dust we can just jam back into our storage, and the tiny piles we have to go store, or we have to go compact in another packager of some form. While I wait for the other molecular separators to craft, I built our filtering system that takes care of splitting the regular dusts from the tiny dusts and then getting the tiny dust packaged. So the way this works is that all the outputs from these molecular separators go into this chest at first. Then from this chest, there's a robot arm on this side that pulls tiny dusts with a OR dictionary filter. There's dust tiny OR dictionary filter into this chest, which is a buffer chest into the packager, which has another robot arm here to supply exactly 63 items at a time to be packaged. Then on this other side here, there's another OR dictionary filter that's on blacklist for dust tiny star that allows the full-size dusts to be extracted from the chest and sent back into our storage system here. So if we look here, we have all of our full-size dusts here and no tiny dusts. Alright, so all that's left is let's hook up the other 4 molecular separators. I finished crafting. And because I intentionally set it up such that I don't need filters on the machines, because that means adding a machine requires adding additional filters. I built this entire system such that the only thing I have to do to add more machines is copy paste the channel configs. So copy and paste, and this applies to all the different machines on this processing line. All the filtering is done as much as possible. I use OR dictionary filters so that if I have to process more types of ORs, I don't have to add new configuration states to anything. The only exception is this one here, this one filter where I have to specify exactly which ores we have to extract, like copper ore, for instance, and graphite dust. Basically, all these fully processed dusts I have to add onto that filter. As much as I wanted to not have to put extraction speed upgrades into these molecular separators, when they're processing the fast ores, such as iron here, which processes, basically the 24 EU a tick dusts, they do fill up, which means I do have to put at least 1 extraction speed upgrade into each. That just makes it a little bit harder to scale. I mean, not really, because it's like 2 extra clicks per block, but it's 2 extra clicks I am liable to forget about. Alright, hang in there. We're almost done. There's one more thing we have to process, and that is purified diamond ore, and later emeralds if we process emeralds through this system. This has to go through the sifter, which runs right on the dreaded 16 EU a tick line, which means that it processes slowly. Oh well, it's only one type of ore and it's a rather small amount of our total output, so I'm going to start with 4 sifting machines. If that's not enough, once again, it's easy enough to add more. So I just need another, let's see, I need to extract another side of this chest, which means I guess we're extracting out the bottom. I was kind of hoping to avoid that, but that's alright. After being sifted, I'm just taking these outputs, extracting them on the gray channel, which jams them into this modular storage that allows one of the outputs, the impure piles of diamond dust, I believe, to, we see some right at the bottom here, purified piles of diamond dust, sorry, to be sent into this chest where they will be centrifuged as usual, and then I've whitelisted all the different diamond types to be extracted in our big item filter. And voila, we're done with our ore processing setup. Now it has quite the backlog to go through, maybe about 100,000 total ores, so it'll take it at least some time to get through the backlog. But once it's through the backlog, I'm reasonably confident that this system is faster than, it processes ores faster than this thing can dig them up, which means that if we want to, which we will, at some point we can expand on this to have it also process the other ores that we mine by hand, especially some of the more rare ores like scheelite. Instead of just processing it directly this way, like processing it as dense ore, we can set up something that takes it all the way up to ore clumps, and then after it comes out of the crucible, we get these native clusters. And then we can just dump native clusters into this chest or a chest right next to it and have it get processed through this exact same system. So this ore processing is designed to be both fast and flexible, which is why I kind of put it off for so long. We needed a fair amount of machines to be able to meet both of those requirements. Anyways, now with this running, there's one thing I want to check, and that is the status of our fuel. So let's head back to the overworld and see how our nitro diesel stocks are doing. I know we had a significant buffer of it. Ooh, our once significant buffer is now empty. Why is that? Because we are not producing starlight fast enough. Alright, let's do something about that. That sure looks like it. Our starlight tank is empty. So we can add more light wells. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Shining starlight on light wells does make them faster, but it's just as easy to just add more light wells, so I'll do that. They're a bit of a pain to craft because they use the non-stacking parts to them, so you have to craft them one at a time. But aside from that, none of these components are particularly difficult. Apparently, Past Jimmy thought ahead and had 61 light wells pre-crafted. Past Jimmy, you're a genius sometimes. Configuring all these conduits without the copy-paste feature of the conduit probe would be such a pain. I mean, it's quite a pain even with copy-paste, but without it, it'd be like, instead of 1 click per conduit, it'd be maybe 10-ish, because you have to configure both the item and the fluid. Blech. I'm not actually sure if the new light wells I placed are actually producing starlight. All the pre-existing ones periodically flash like a thin layer of starlight and show 1 millibucket, but these never do. It might just because like an order of operations thing, if whether the renderer runs before or after the conduit, but I guess there's an easy enough way to test, right? We can briefly turn off extract on one of these. Okay. And there's starlight again. So I guess it's just the order that the renderer decides to run in. I mean, I guess if I could get them to all not flash, that would probably be slightly better for my FPS. But alas. Anyways, that's more starlight. And let's see if that means our diesel generation has caught up. Seems the answer is still no, huh? Geez, we need a lot of starlight. Out of curiosity, does Niter produce starlight faster? No, it does not. It probably just produces more. Alright. So I guess if we want to keep producing more starlight, I can either add even more light wells, or perhaps the solution is to shine some starlight on them. I'll address the starlight issue next episode. It also looks like our oil stocks are running low. A recent change in the pack made it such that turning oil into crystallized oil gives a significant boost. I think it's 5 to 1. So 1 bucket of oil, makes 5 buckets of crystallized oil. And then the next step, going crystallized oil to empowered oil, gives another 2 to 1. So basically for every bucket of oil, we get 10 buckets of empowered oil, which is a pretty darn good ratio. Of course, then for every 50 millibuckets of empowered oil, it almost doubles again into diesel. So 1 bucket of oil goes a rather long ways, but we are running low. So how about let's go move that pump right now. That should only take 1 second. Thankfully, I named which ender shard actually links to the pump, so I know which one to grab to go there. And aha! So this pump has long since finished pumping this vein. There's 1 bucket of oil left at the top, so it looks like a vein, but otherwise it's all cobblestone. So let's move it to one of those other oil wells. In fact, I wonder, are they all the same size, or are some of them bigger than the other? I'll take a quick look and I guess try to pick the larger oil well to mine. There's definitely different sizes, like that oil is bigger than this one, I think, unless it's just more cleverly hidden underwater. I don't know. Anyways, I just picked the nearest one because I can't tell how big it is down there. It'll produce plenty of oil, and we're pumping it all up, sending it through the same method as before to our base. All I have to do is move my chunk loaded area. I don't even need to claim those chunks anymore, to here. And this oil will now automatically be mined and sent to our base. Now, each of these oil wells only contains, I don't know, a couple thousand buckets of oil maybe. At some point, we can also upgrade to the Astral Sorcery Neuromantic Prime system, which is able to pull significantly more oil before having to be moved. In fact, it's able to pull so much oil out of a virtual oil spout that we probably never have to move it. But that requires, more setup. So for now, we'll just move the pump as needed. Well, let's wrap things up here for today. We'll come back next time and address some of the bottlenecks in our oil system, or our, nitro diesel system, and work from there. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.